I never thought my own family could betray me this way. My mother, the person I once trusted the most, was the first to turn her back on me when I needed her most. They weren't there when my husband suddenly passed away, not a single word of comfort or support. Instead, they coldly brought up his life insurance, treating me more like a source of money than a daughter. I remember that moment clearly, the feeling of falling off a cliff, my heart crushed. Can a daughter expect anything but unconditional love from her family? But it was all an illusion. My husband's funeral took place under a heavy cloud. None of my family showed up or shared in the sorrow. Meanwhile, his side of the family cared for me and supported me wholeheartedly. I felt abandoned amidst the cold stares of my own blood. Every time I saw them, I felt a stabbing pain because I knew the calculations behind their fake smiles. I couldn't believe I'd have to walk this road alone. And my little daughter Lily could feel the difference too. Her eyes were full of confusion and sadness. When my parents came to visit, I thought they came to comfort me. But no, all they talked about was money, about splitting the insurance from my husband's death. I couldn't accept it. I had handled everything on my own, and now they treated me like a cash machine. I remember their words, each one cutting deep like knives to my heart, leaving me feeling small and hopeless. Lily spoke less and less, as if she sensed the world around her was shifting and didn't know how to hold on. The letter my husband left behind was a complete surprise. In it, he warned me about my father and the motives hidden behind his kind face. His words reminded me I must be careful. I must protect myself and Lily. The family gathering was more tense than ever. Everyone fought over rights money. No one truly cared about anything but claiming their share. I stood my ground, defended Lily's rights, and refused to let anyone take advantage of our loss. But deep down, I still wondered, was there any way to save this family? The confrontation dragged on, and it felt like the entire room could explode. But the moment I'll never forget was when Lily stood up and read her emotional invoice, a list of the pain and losses we'd suffered in this family. No one could say a word. The room fell silent. I felt a new strength awaken within me, as if we had finally crossed the line between endurance and liberation. But we knew the road ahead would still be full of trials. After the confrontation, Lily and I walked away from that house, feeling both a loss and a release. We knew we had to rebuild from the ground up, protect each other from past wounds, and shape a new future. Support from Marcus, my in-laws, and close friends became a vital source of strength. My parents began to show signs of regret, but I kept my distance. I wouldn't let them back into our lives without real change. Every day was a slow but steady step toward healing. Marcus decided to transfer his job to be closer to us, to support Lily and me long term. His presence became a solid wall of protection, giving me strength when I felt weak. Gradually, I began to open up to my parents' efforts, but I never forgot the lesson, the power of setting boundaries, the importance of protecting myself and my daughter. Lily was growing up, learning to express her emotions, learning how to protect herself. Each day brought progress in our journey back to happiness. Forgiveness isn't easy, and it isn't for those who hurt me. It's for me to free myself from the past. I began to view my story differently, not as a victim, but as someone who chose to take control of her life. This journey is painful, but it's filled with hope. I've learned to let go of resentment, to trust myself, and to trust the people who truly love me. Each day, I remind myself I deserve to be happy. My relationship with my parents could never return to what it once was, but it could be rebuilt on respect and boundaries. I don't expect perfection. I just want them to understand and respect what Lily and I have been through. And slowly, I've come to see love doesn't always come from blood. Sometimes it comes from the friends and chosen family we allow into our lives. Life isn't perfect, but I have the right to choose who walks beside me. Finally, I decided to create a charity fund in Kevin's name to help women and children like me, those betrayed and hurt by their own families. This wasn't just a way to give back, it was my declaration of strength. With each passing day, I understood more deeply what it means to grow, to let go, to forgive, and to find your own happiness. And I want to share this story so that someone out there never has to feel as alone as I once did. After founding the charity, I began receiving stories from other women who had also been hurt and betrayed by their own families. Each letter, each call became a piece that helped rebuild my strength. I remember the first time I met Anna, a young woman who had been kicked out of her home by her own mother simply because she chose to live differently. Her story brought me to tears, tears of empathy and shared pain. But a question lingered in my mind. Do I really have the strength to help all these women, Or will I collapse again like before? And then, just as I was preparing to host the charity's first support meeting, something unexpected happened. The first gathering was held in a small, warmly lit room filled with laughter and tears. I looked at every face, brave women standing up, sharing their stories, exposing old wounds while seeking healing. One of them, Lisa, shared how her mother manipulated her, even banning her from her own sister's wedding because of her differences. Her story hit us all like a punch to the heart. As the meeting neared its end, one woman stood up, eyes full of fire. We don't just need healing, we need action. Her words ignited something in me, a fire that told me a new chapter was about to begin. One that would be difficult, but full of hope. We began planning workshops, live counseling events, and even media campaigns to share our stories with the wider world. Every time I looked into the eyes of these women, I saw a hidden power, a flame that had never truly died. But not everyone supported us. I received threats, even backlash from a few family members, those who didn't want the truth exposed. Once again, my home became a battleground, but this time I wasn't alone. And just when tensions peaked, a long-buried secret came to light. The secret was about my own mother, the person I had once trusted most. I discovered she had hidden things, strange money transfers, secret late-night calls. The betrayal struck deep once again, but it also snapped me into focus. I knew I had to confront the truth no matter how painful. The conversation between me and my mother would change everything. Could she understand the pain she caused, or would everything fall apart for good? Everyone was waiting for the answer. So was I. The living room was dim. Only the ticking clock reminded me that time was slipping away. My mother sat across from me, silent, her eyes full of untold stories. I broke the silence, my voice slicing through the air. Why did you hide this from me? Why was all of this out of my reach? I was torn between rage and a desperate need for truth. But then, her answer left me speechless. A secret so powerful it could change how I saw my family forever. She began to speak a story no one had ever heard, about silent sacrifices, painful choices, about years spent hiding the cracks in our family, all to protect us from the harsh reality. But her silence only deepened the wounds. Now those very cracks were threatening to destroy everything. I felt a collapse inside me, but also a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, something could change. But was she truly ready to open her heart and heal? Or was this just the final act in one last performance? The room grew cold as I sat there listening to my mother speak of the guilt and torment she'd carried for years. Her sighs felt endless and her eyes were full of regret. I had to choose between protecting the family and telling the truth, she said, her voice trembling. Those words shattered like glass inside me, reflecting all the years that had been hidden away. I wanted to believe her, but the pain of betrayal still twisted inside me. Were these secrets really the reason behind all my suffering? And could I truly forgive? Just as I was about to ask more, the doorbell rang, a sudden sound that broke the heavy silence. Someone stood outside, carrying a message I never expected to hear. The room went still, only the ticking clock remained. I walked over and opened the door. Standing there was my sister, the one who'd been distant for years. Her eyes were layered with sorrow and remorse. "We need to talk," she said, her voice shaking but firm. Would this be the turning point for healing? Or just another wound waiting to reopen? My sister stepped in slowly, as if she carried the weight of the past on her shoulders. I saw the lines on her face. In a place where I once only saw coldness and distance. I had no idea how wrong I'd been, she admitted. Her voice cracked, catching me off guard. Those words felt like a strange wind blowing through a storm. But my heart wasn't fully open yet. Something about her remorse felt incomplete. Was she really here to make amends or to reopen old wounds? We sat down, facing each other. But the real distance wasn't measured in feet. It was years of misunderstanding. Mom kept secrets. But so did I said quietly, trying to hold back the storm in my chest. My sister's eyes flickered as if she wanted to say something but couldn't. In that moment, I knew I stood between two choices: to keep my heart shut or open it and face the brutal truth. But before I could decide, my phone rang. The name on the screen would change everything. The call wasn't who I expected. It was my mother. Her voice was cold, dripping with sarcasm. You and your sister seem to forget the most important thing: family isn't about fairness. That sentence stabbed deep into my chest and the room instantly felt suffocating. I could feel her manipulation still alive after all these years, despite the walls I'd tried so hard to build. But this time, I wouldn't let myself be dragged into it again. My sister looked at me, pain and determination in her eyes. You may not believe it, but we still want to fix this. But how do you fix something when words have already become open wounds? I sighed. My mind raced with memories of being left behind, betrayed in the very house we grew up in. Then she said something that made me freeze. There's a secret Mom never wanted either of us to know. Everything stopped, just me and a question that no one had answered. The attic was covered in dust. I climbed up for the first time in years. Among torn-up boxes, I saw an old wooden chest. The lock was rusted. Curious, I forced it open. Inside were stacks of yellowed paper, a diary. The handwriting was unmistakable, my mother's. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages. March 12th. Lisa made Rebecca cry again. She always wants everything. That girl is selfish. June 7th. Can't let Lisa see Rebecca being praised. She needs to know her place. Each sentence cut like a knife. It wasn't my imagination. I wasn't being overly sensitive. Mom had been observing, recording, controlling us since we were just children. This wasn't favoritism. It was a plan. I sat frozen on the cold attic floor. The diary lay open. I couldn't feel my hands anymore. She's the most difficult daughter I've ever had. I don't want Lisa turning into me, but it's already happening. I broke down. Not just crying, screaming, sobbing, 20 years of repression cracking wide open. My entire childhood, the unfair blame, the cold dinners, the words that kept me up at night. None of it was my fault. I wasn't hard to love. I had been programmed to believe that. But if my mother never loved me the way I thought, if this was the truth, then who was I? Where do I go from here? And then, footsteps behind me. Lisa, what are you doing up there? The nightmare had just begun. I turned around. My mother's silhouette appeared at the top of the stairs. I hid the diary behind my back, but her eyes were already locked on it. What are you doing up here? I asked, my voice shaking. What are you reading? She asked, stepping closer like a hunter approaching prey. I backed away. It's the truth, isn't it? Everything you wrote in here. She said nothing. Her face wasn't angry. It was cold, stone cold. You shouldn't have read that, she finally said. Why? Because now I know you never loved me. Because now I realize you raised me to obey, not to live. The air thickened, choking us both. I gripped the diary. No one else needs to know about this, Lisa. Not even Rebecca. No, I shouted. Rebecca deserves to know the truth. She doesn't need to keep living a script you wrote for her. My mother lunged, trying to rip the diary from my hands. We struggled. Her nails dug into my skin, as if I were still the child too afraid to talk back. Don't ruin everything, Lisa! You'll destroy this family! Family, I screamed. This isn't a family. This is a stage, and you're the dictator directing it. I broke free. Ran downstairs. My heart was pounding out of control. Rebecca was in the living room, staring at me, then at our mother. We were both gasping, disheveled. I handed her the diary. Rebecca, it's time you knew everything. Rebecca took the diary. Her hands trembled. Lisa, are you sure? Read it. Decide for yourself. The room went silent, like all the oxygen had vanished. She turned each page. Mom's handwriting, but cold, calculating, cruel. Rebecca is the perfect copy. No resistance, no questions. Just keep Lisa quiet and everything will be fine. Rebecca's eyes widened. Her mouth opened, slightly stunned. She kept reading. Lisa is better, but also more dangerous. If she figures that out, I'll lose control. She looked at me. Her voice cracked. How long have you lived with this? I gave a bitter smile. Since before you could walk. She slowly set the book down. I don't even know who I am anymore, Lisa. Mom stood frozen. Rebecca walked toward her. Did you write those things? I was just trying to keep things together. By turning your daughters against each other. For the first time, I saw Rebecca trembling, not from fear, but fury. You made me a tool. You made her the enemy. You're not the person I thought you were. Mom said nothing. She looked down, her hands clenched tightly, holding back tears. But Rebecca didn't wait for an answer. She turned to me. We need to talk, but not here. I nodded. We stepped outside, leaving our mother behind, alone, in the dark. But the moment we reached the front door, headlights flared. Someone was waiting outside. As Rebecca and I stepped out, the car headlights lit up like a spotlight on truth. A black SUV parked at the curb. A man stepped out. I squinted. Dad? Rebecca gasped in disbelief. I took a step back. His presence thickened the air. It was him, our father, gone from our lives for nearly 20 years. No letters, no calls. Only bitter stories our mother told, full of scorn and hate. Lisa, Rebecca, I need to speak with both of you. Rebecca whispered, How did you know we'd be here today? I gently squeezed her hand. That's exactly what I want to know too. We sat in his car, the old leather creaking under the weight of everything we never said. He spoke. No excuses, no tears, just a truth long buried. I didn't leave you. I was pushed out of your lives. Rebecca tightened her grip on my hand. What do you mean? Your mother threatened to destroy my reputation if I fought for custody. She had photos, recordings, lies but convincing ones. I was scared, but I still fought until the court sided with her. And the first thing she did was erase me from the story. I couldn't breathe. Part of me had always suspected, but hearing it from him turned my world upside down. Rebecca let out a shaky sigh. If what you're saying is true, then every memory we have of you was manufactured by her. Then he reached into his coat, pulled out an envelope old sealed with red wax. This is a letter I wrote to you when you were 13, Lisa, but your mother never let you see it. I took it. Watch the wax crack under my fingers like the final mask falling off. I opened the letter. My hands trembled. My vision blurred before I could even read a single line. Lisa, if you're reading this letter, it means I've failed. I choked up. Rebecca covered her mouth, holding back a sob. I wanted to fight for you, but your mother, she was stronger than the court. She knew how to use people. She knew exactly what to say to make others believe her. I looked up, remembering those nights I cried alone when my mother told me my father had abandoned me, that he chose freedom over responsibility. Now those words pierced through my memory like frozen blades. I still remember the last time you hugged me in the backyard. You asked, Will you come back, Dad? I said yes, but your mother never gave me that chance. I folded the letter. My breath was short, unsteady. Rebecca whispered, We've been living our whole lives in a script she wrote for us. And worse? I once believed it was true. I returned to the house, knocked on the door, no longer afraid, no longer soft. My mother opened it, her face still carrying that look of control. Did you forget something, Lisa? I held up the letter, firm, clear. You told me Dad left me, but you never said you hid the letter he sent. Her face froze. She didn't deny it, didn't admit it either. Rebecca stood beside me. And what else have you hidden, Mom? Silence. Was it because you were afraid he'd offer us a version of the truth that didn't fit the script you wrote, Lisa? You're being manipulated by a man who abandoned you. I tightened my voice. Or was it you, Mom, who turned your fear into a prison for all of us? The air thickened. Rebecca whispered, We need the whole truth, Mom. And this time, you don't get to edit the scene. No more directing. Because if you won't say it, Dad will. The room was silent. My mother said nothing. No confession, no denial. She just stared at the letter and turned away. Mom, aren't you going to say anything? Rebecca's voice cracked. My mother turned back, eyes red not from regret but rage. You don't understand. He left me at my weakest. I had just given birth. Alone. And he chose a new life. I clenched my fists. But you had no right to hide such a crucial part of our past, she screamed. I did everything to protect you. I'm your mother. Just then, a voice rang out from the front door. And you're the one who made me lose my children for 19 years. We turned. It was him. My father. He stood there holding a stack of documents and a phone. I let you come to me because I wanted you to know the truth didn't come from me. It came from your own choices. The room turned cold. My mother stepped back. You have no right to be here. My father sighed, placing the documents on the table. These are copies of the letters I sent and calls that were blocked by your cousin Megan. I turned to Rebecca. Megan, she whispered. She kept Mom's old phone when Mom moved. A twist from the most unexpected source. My father continued, I asked Megan to deliver letters. She promised she would, but none ever reached you. Rebecca trembled. So all this time, we were trapped between two adults, one driven by pain, the other by power. My mother stood there silent, lips sealed. When did you find out? Megan blocked the letters, I asked. She didn't reply, but her bowed head, said everything. So now all we need to know is, will you choose silence again? Or will you choose to start over? I stood before my mother. No more rage, just a nameless pain. Mom, if you ever felt abandoned, why would you make your daughter feel the same? She turned away. The shadow on her cheek revealed wrinkles I'd never noticed before. She had aged not from time, but from truths never spoken. Rebecca placed her hand on my shoulder. We just need to know, do you still want us in your life, or do you only want obedience? The room felt like a vault locking away memories. My mother smiled faintly, her eyes wet. You think I haven't stayed up countless nights terrified you'd both leave me? I clenched my hands. Did you control us because you feared losing us, or because you believed you were always right? She didn't answer. But a voice broke the silence, not from her, but from Megan just walking in. Megan placed a small box on the table. Inside are the letters. The ones I hid, not because she forced me, but because I once wanted to please her. I froze. I thought protecting her from pain would keep everything peaceful. But I was wrong. Rebecca gasped. So this entire family, we were all just terrified of being abandoned, willing to suffocate love to keep it. The room felt drained of air. A picture fell off the wall. Glass shattered. The sound marked the end of a false era. I looked at my mother now, barely standing. I caught her not out of forgiveness, but because I chose not to pass on that pain. Cliffhanger ending. If this was the first time we were honest with each other, maybe it could also be the last. But it's a beginning, as everything seemed to be crumbling just to rebuild. My father called, his voice urgent as if he had heard something terrible. Lisa, don't trust your mother. There's something you don't know. I held my breath. I just confronted her. What is it? He paused, then turned on the speaker. A recording played. My mother's voice, cold, calculated. Let her think it was her choice. We can't let her slip out of control. If we have to use Rebecca or Megan to keep her, so be it. I felt like someone had squeezed all the air from my lungs. How long have you had this? 6 months. I had someone investigate, but I was too afraid. I turned to Megan. She was stunned. I didn't know. You have to believe me. I looked at Rebecca. Her eyes filled with confusion and pain. Everything I thought I understood shattered again. I picked up my phone, scrolled through every text, every coincidental call from Mom when I was vulnerable, every accidental visit right before I planned to leave. Each move was strategy. Do you think Mom planned it all? Megan whispered. It's not a theory. I'm sure of it. I turned to Dad. Why didn't you say anything earlier? Because I feared losing the family. But now I realize silence already lost us long ago. A second later, my mother entered the room, her eyes no longer fearful, but cold with the confidence of someone who's won a power game for 30 years. Fine, Lisa. If you want to fight, this will be the last one. The truth is out. But I still don't know who's the real victim and who's really winning. My mother looked at me. If you think you're teaching me a lesson, you're wrong. I didn't answer immediately. I looked at her for a long time. For the first time, not as a hurt daughter, but as a grown woman facing another woman also full of scars. No, I'm not trying to teach you anything. I'm trying to teach myself that I deserve freedom. The room fell silent. Megan held my hand. Rebecca wept. Dad looked at Mom, not with anger, but with deep regret. From today on, I won't cut you off, Mom, but I will draw boundaries very clearly. And if you cross them, I won't return. Mom sat down, her eyes no longer furious, but defeated. No one won, but no one remained the loser either. 3 months later, I moved into a new apartment not far from the city, but far enough to start anew. Rebecca visited, bringing the bracelet that once belonged to our mother, now hers. I didn't know how strong you were, until I tried stepping out of Mom's shadow myself. I smiled. I didn't know either, until I realized I didn't need anyone to validate it. I sat by the window watching the sunset. No more noise from old expectations, just peace.